All right. Well, you know how Fridays roll. With this week one NFL Red Friday, we get an opportunity to go pro level in what is it you need help with? What are the challenges? What is the defense presenting to your offense? What objections? What do you want to talk about? Let's get together in the locker room here so we can huddle before kickoff and then win. Brad, stop it, Brad.
I've got a interesting one that happened this week and be interested to see. So appraisals, how many people have uh dealt with a low appraisal and have fought it and won? So I had a property we listed at 2095. We got the appraisal back. It was 195, and we were like, hold on. And even the appraiser before he went there was like, oh, I've been doing research. You're all good. You're gonna research. So then we went and looked over it, me and one of my other people on the team, and we found like all these things that were wrong with it. Like the comps weren't near, and he actually used the original sales price, the original offer, which was 195, and didn't use the counter offer addendum, which was the 2095. So we sent it back. I just want to, it was very stressful, I'll put it that way, because my client was freaking out because he didn't have money. He's breaking even at a 2095. Uh, and he has to pay people out of proceeds. And if it came back at 195, he would be in big trouble with his hard money lender and stuff like that. So, anyways, I just would be interested to see other people's approach and experience with appraisals and things like that.
So it's 15,000 off.
Yeah. So basically, what kind of happened was, I mean, he used the sales price of 195, and either the lender didn't send him the appraisal company. The lender's a broker, and either they didn't send in the counteroffer addendum that showed it was actually under contract for 2095, or they said, oh, he must have ignored it. Like they aren't taking the lender's not taking responsibility for it. Um, so we're in a review right now, which has pushed closing,
Uh,
but we'd rather get him the money, obviously, than and have to wait to the closing. But I've heard from other agents like, oh, I've never won when we reviewed appraisals, and then other agents have been like, oh yeah, I've won all the time. So we laid out it was a whole list of like all these things, like you're not accurate on this, you're not this, like and we gave them two additional comps that were um, well over the 2095. So um, we'll find out next week. But anyways, I just didn't know what other people's experience has been
Did you say
with
it's a
appraisals and
hard,
things like that.
you said it's a hard money lender?
what
The
kind of
My
financing is the
client
buyer trying to get?
has, sorry, say that again.
What kind of financing is the buyer trying to receive?
The buyer's a conventional, so I'm representing my seller who is in under a hard money loan
Okay.
for a flip. So
Yeah, but
he
the appraisal is
owes,
being ordered by the conventional lender.
Okay.
correct,
Yeah, okay. For
correct.
clarity.
You're on the selling
Yeah,
side. Okay. Have you,
yeah.
as the buyer's agent, like, are the buyers at all willing to like come up if they had to?
We haven't
Difference?
gotten there yet because I got the appraisal Tuesday night, late Tuesday night. And then we reviewed it on Wednesday and sent in all our notes on Wednesday. And the lender was like, "Oh yeah, we'll look into it and get it taken care of." So they've reopened it, but we probably won't hear back till Monday on it. Um, I imagine I'm not. I imagine the appraiser will come back at the 2095 unless for some reason he just is like, "Oh, this pisses me off because you guys are making me do it again." Um, but
I've,
he didn't use the right sales price. So that's the initial thing. Like he didn't start at the right spot.
which
He started at 195.
in theory is silly, right? Because their appraisal should not your sales price shouldn't matter to them, right? It's a
Yeah.
market value, but um I've had a couple that we've been able to overturn. Usually like 15 is enough of a gap where you want to close that gap. Usually, if it's like 5, a lot of times it's not worth the delays and the hassles where we can usually get someone on both like sometimes it's the sellers just conceding to move it forward and other times like the buyer's willing to come up with a little bit more change. Especially if they were giving closing costs or things of that nature, which really has created that gap, if that makes sense. So I
Mhm.
think it just depends. I've had an appraiser who was just a complete, I don't know how to say it nicely, jackass, and his ego got in the way and was just like, I think it torqued him off more. And then I've had others that are very thankful and just said, I'm sorry we missed that. So I think it's truly a game from that perspective, of wait and see how the appraiser reacts. And then I think there's additional steps you can take if you have to, if you still disagree.
Do you guys also, this brings another question because I've heard multiple different aspects from different clients. Do you guys meet your appraiser at the property as a listing agent and give them comps? Because I have some
They
people that are
they
like,
they don't
yes,
like that.
I
I've
know.
I've I've been told directly by a couple appraisers like I don't need you or really actually want you there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was sort of the gist that I get. When they call me, I say, hey, I'm happy to meet there if you want, but I don't want to get in your way. I also have comps if you would like that. I don't want to step on your toes though. And most of them have been like, oh no, that's great. I'm good. Thanks. If you want to send me your comps, you can. But I
Yeah.
didn't know what everybody else's consensus is.
We
I
don't.
was also going to ask, did they have their appraisal writer in their offer, the buyers? Did they have an appraisal writer on the contract?
We don't have an appraisal waiver, no. Just a
So,
standard contract.
because I had almost this exact situation happen last year, but we were off, they were off by $35,000, and the person had used the sales price of the house that we had it listed for. They didn't even use the person's offer price, and they absolutely didn't use the fact that there was an escalation rider, and then we had actually had we had an amendment changing the price because of that. And so it was 35,000 off. And the person had already filed it with FHA. So he refused to go back and like redo it. And those people who purchased the house had done an appraisal gap. So, I mean, but they had only done an appraisal gap up to 15,000. So we were talking about $20,000. And it was such a mess, but we ended up, he refused. And the other thing was the people had not actually written the contract with an FHA loan. They had written it as conventional, and then they had turned around and ordered an FHA appraisal. So we had that issue also. But ultimately, we pretty much gave them an opportunity to get a different appraisal, with somebody else. So we had that choice. But I've been the same with like as Michelle. I've had some of the appraisers. I don't know if it's an ego thing or what. I've had some of them have been completely willing to go back and reevaluate it. Just the fact that you guys don't have the correct sales price for like the contract already right there to me just seems like, I mean, he's gonna have to fix it. And the fact that you've got the lender who's reopening it, like the lender on this one was like, oh no, we're the only other thing we can do is switch them to conventional instead.
You'll have to give us an update, Brad. We can add you into
Yeah,
the
I'll know more.
statistic.
It's been it's been some really interesting conversations I've had to go through the last week with my client who's I mean, the house was on the market it's on the market for over 100 days, and he's paying 13% interest on this hard money loan, and it's just he hasn't understood the flip process, right? So like his son was the one that came to us and Breeze through Bigger Pockets. His dad's local, so his dad's have sort of been on the boots on the ground, who is actually my client. It's a weird situation, but he kicked his son out of the deal, and the flip didn't go well. But he's never owned a home before, so he doesn't understand that like first-time home buyers or people may want new windows and not these old windows that don't work. And this, a lot of conversations have been had about like what a home is. And if I'm purchasing a home, this is as a buyer, I don't want to drop $20,000 on new windows, things like that. And just talking him through the process, and he doesn't particularly want to listen. And so now we're in this situation where we're actually under contract, we're almost closed, and an appraisal comes in at 195, and that conversation, there's been multiple conversations where has yelled at me, and I've just been like, I'm nope, bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying, and I've told him multiple times,
tough.
I am trying to help you sell your home to get you the most money. You're in a hard money loan right now. The longer you wait, the more interest you're paying. You're losing money in the long run. Let's get it sold.
Yeah, do the math. Yeah, all you can do is help them do the math and let them make the decision. And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And I know he's not directing it at me.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the one text on Tuesday night was, I'm gonna go on Google and bash you and Breeze and Yelp and ruin your blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
why stop there? Why stop there? Right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and name. Let me give you everybody's name that's part of this. Yeah. Who else? What? Like, why don't you give your hard money lender a review that these interest rates are now like you didn't understand? Like, come on, man.
That's where I'm. Yeah, it's sort of where I'm at. So he's very appreciative that we found all these things in the appraisal, and he's like, "Thank you." Like, I know you guys are working hard.
Like, so you're gonna walk back that review, bro? You gonna walk back that review? How about now? Now do a review. How about now?
Yeah, I don't care. I just want to be done with it. I don't care. So, but it's good conversations, right? And it's a good learning experience for me. So the next time it rolls around, I'll know. Right?
Take a breath. Two things happen here. Number one, this guy's getting a tuition in flipping. Number two, remember, you get paid in direct proportion to the problems you can solve. The harder the problems, the better you get paid. People are the variable in this business that makes this more challenging than it needs to be sometimes. And so understanding people, which is emotion, not logic, and then having the logic and then being able to kind of bring them together, that's the art. There's an art to this. This is the part that's not in the books. This is the part that they don't tell you in licensing school. And this is it. This is what separates everybody else. How do you navigate emotions and logic together and move people towards the finish line in the most amicable way possible, even when things get hot? Because we're dabbling in one of the 5 deadly sins. Have you guys ever heard? There's 5 things you never mess with people. It's their family, their money, their religion, their politics, and their home. You come at any one of those 5 with anybody else, it's go time. And we're dealing with their home, their money. Sometimes we disrupt their family, right? Like we're in it. We're in a very sensitive, triggery kind of thing. And so, yeah, we sometimes get the best of people, if you will, right? So how quickly, what did somebody say? Resilience is the ability to get back to neutral from an extreme. And then your level of like consultative mastery, if you will, is how quickly can you help others get back to center. That's the next level stuff, right? While we're dealing in that triggery swamp with people. And here's the thing, remember, like when we do a really great job, sometimes it's unnoticed because it feels too easy and everyone's like, you get paid too much. And then there's deals like this and you're like, this is why I get paid, what I get paid. Right? So just know that the real estate karma's watching and you're going to get a couple of deals where you're like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm making way too much. And then I'll remind you, be like, hey, remember that appraisal deal? And you'll be like, okay, got it. Gap in the gain, brother. Gap in the gain. Good stuff. Anybody else?
I'm genuinely curious since we're on the topic of appraisals. Have any of you guys had, or are you noticing more that appraisals are coming back short with kind of the way the market is shifting in your areas?
I personally haven't, but I've talked to a lot of people that have been seeing a lot of short appraisals. Um, I think we had such an increase in sales price, and then all of a sudden our days on market extended so far that it's just kind of a jumbled up mess a little bit. And that's actually directly from an appraiser. He was like, this is a disaster. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of agents who have seen a lot of short appraisals. And that goes back also to the conversation of sellers still, no matter how many times we have all said it, still thinking they can get 2021 prices today. But we've also seen prices coming down for the first time in 35 years down here. So it's interesting.
So here's what I really want everybody on this call to walk with is remember, all frustration comes from unmet expectation. How can you take a snippet of this conversation in your listing presentation or your buyer consultation to give people a heads up on what is out there, what's happening in the market? Again, remember, everyone is looking at us for three things, right? Strategy, expertise, and opinion, right? Hey, has anyone told you what's going on in the market around appraisals? Well, let me share with you a couple things that we were talking about on our national mastermind call. Because again, as a professional, I network with other top agents all across the country. So the beauty of that is we start getting information from all different areas of the country, which eventually affects us here locally. And here's what we're seeing with appraisals. Let me share with you. And if something happens, here's some things and some options that we have. So just know that as we go through this process, if there are some surprises, and there might be, we're well aware and we're geared and poised to bring you options and be able to take care of it. So I don't want you to freak out because I got you.
You are so right. And we're continuing to have these conversations with agents on our team, and even just agents outside of our team that are expressing frustrations, especially around pricing reductions. And the first question I say is, what did your listing consultation look like? And what were the conversations that you had with them, setting the stage to, hey, we're going to need to watch the data and get aligned, every week on if we need to do a pricing reduction. And a lot of these people are like, well, we didn't really have that conversation. And now they're backtracking, and it's so much harder to have that conversation when you're in the heat of the moment. They think it's maybe you're not marketing enough, you're not doing enough things, and that you just want to take the easy way out. But if you set that stage early and have that conversation of, hey, this is what the market looks like. Our average days on market right now is 60 days. We're noticing that a lot of homes are getting price reductions. What that means is they're starting too high, and they're having to come down to compensate for that. Having those conversations with them early and often is super, super important. And even more important now, like it's a totally different market than it was 2 years ago, where we didn't have to really have those conversations. The conversation was more, I'm going to have 11 offers for you in a spreadsheet, and we're going to walk through this. And now we might not have an offer for weeks and weeks, and we need to adjust and pivot on a weekly basis.
Ramil just posted something, a really great post around this just the other day on his Instagram, where he talked about, hey, a year ago or 2 years ago, we talked about listing on a Thursday and having multiple offers on Sunday. It's different now, right? Here's some of the strategy, and then setting up the expectations. Here's some of the strategies. Here's what we're doing right now. We're watching, we're monitoring, we're assessing weekly. How often would you like us to get back to you and consult with you on our pricing strategy? Right? How quickly do you want to be able to make an adjustment before we have to make a reactionary adjustment?
Yeah.
Right? Setting expectations on the front end.
Yeah.
And that's where your expertise shows through, right? Because of experience, right? And then so it's expertise and strategy together. Those two things subconsciously create a high level of trust and rapport. whether they agree with it or not, like right at the end of the day, and I always love to preface, like when we get together, I'm going to share with you all the things. They may be things that you don't want to hear, and yet you need to hear them. And that is why you chose to hire us, correct? Tie down. Perfect. Right. If and I also reference, hey, if at any point anything that I share with you makes you feel a certain kind of way, bring it up. But just know that it's my obligation to share with you all the things, even if you don't want to hear them.
In answer to your question earlier, Michelle, about the appraisal stuff, I had one recently where we had listed the house for 325, and we ended up getting multiple offers, like over asking, that were, I mean, I think the highest one was like 25,000 over asking, but we didn't even take that one. We took the one that was like 11,000 over asking, and we didn't even underprice this house. There was really no comps. I already felt like, I mean, like, I'm not kidding. There was like no comps really for this house at all, just because it's on like 6/10 of an acre, not in a subdivision, that kind of thing. And so you had to go like about 1.5 to 2 miles away from this house to even find anything that like kind of was like it. And so I'm like, okay, I mean, we'll just list it at 325 because I feel like that's at least gonna get people in the door. People will probably kind of set the price what they really think, but we're not being unreasonably low at 325. And the appraiser came back and he appraised it under 325. And then he was like, well, we didn't have an appraisal writer in it. And he was like, well, why would you have appraised it? I mean, why would you have put it on the market for 325 if you thought it could have appraised for 336? I was like, where have you been since like 2018? And that's what I was thinking. And then he's like, my wife's a real estate agent too, and all this stuff. And I was like, and she would never price a house under what she thought that it would actually sell for. And I was like, okay. So I looked her up afterwards because he had an unusual last name. So I figured I could find who it was. And I'm like, the freaking lady sold 5 houses in the last 2 years on the MLS. I was like, he ain't doing any business, dude. I mean, I didn't tell him that, but I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Well, the people ended up walking on that one, and the house wasn't staged or anything. And we let them go ahead and just move out, like, because they were living there. We ended up putting staging in. We put the house back on the market, the same price. We didn't switch it. We ended up taking an offer that was, instead of 11,000 over, we took one that was 23,000 over, and it appraised out and it was fine. Like, come on, dude. I was like, please tell me we do not get the same appraiser.
This
But
is again, this is the same conversation that we
yeah.
have with our buyers and sellers, and to say, listen, all throughout this process, it's driven by people,
Mhm.
and everything is an opinion. And we're going to come together to a consensus towards the end. Right? So just let's just navigate this together best we can. Understand nobody's, everyone's human.
Yeah.
And we're going to do everything we can to make this as stress-free as possible. And yet my promise is that even if there's bumps along the way, we're going to have options with you and we're going to partner with you on solutions.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
I know we're pretty much at time, but I just wanted to add this. I was at a national conference a couple years ago, and they had this person on that was talking about like it's not just in real estate industry, it's in like any industry, like, that kind of basically involves people, which is a lot. And they were saying that the people who typically do the best are the ones that can come from an attitude of like, not like I'm gonna win, I'm like this, like, bulldog and stuff. It's the people that really come from an approach of like, I don't want it to just be my client who wins. I want it to be like a win-win for us and something that is going to mutually work. And I already felt like I was very much like that, but it's definitely made me like, I even just got a crazy ask on an inspection notice. And instead of, you know, just being like, screw you, like, go away, like, it made me really think, like, let's just figure out and find some way to have like a happy medium
Yep.
with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I go back to my favorite coach shared with me. He goes, if it wasn't for buyers, sellers, and other agents, real estate would be the best job ever. So on that positive note, I leave you on this Red Friday. Go Chiefs. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you Monday.